Okay, so today I am coming to you with my very first pattern that I've drafted to share with all of you that isn't a mask. And this is a simple pattern, but it is so much fun. This is a reversible seatbelt cozy. And so when you install it, you can either have it with the pretty side fabric facing out, or you can have it with the lining facing out. So you could make this double-sided, both with a print, or like me, you can use Sherpa. I'm in a toxic relationship with Sherpa right now and cannot give it up. You could use fleece, flannel, whatever it is that you like to make it cozy. It does have foam inside, so this fuzzy layer is just another added kind of element of coziness. Now today's tutorial is going to focus on the in the hoop embroidery pattern, which is a 6x10. I do have PDF instructions if you want to make this with a sewing machine, and I'll have a separate tutorial coming out for that soon. The way that you get the free pattern is you have to join my Facebook group. It's the only way right now that I have to share files with you. I don't have a website set up yet because it's taking a lot longer to learn a website setup than it is how to create a pattern. So I do apologize. It's the only way I have right now to get it to you, and it's free. The group is a friendly place where I can also see what you make. So if you join, then you can also show me what you do with the content that I share, which is nice because I like having this to be a two-way relationship across the screen. Okay, enough chatting. Let's get into the project. I am so excited to share this with you. Let's talk about the supplies that we're going to need for this super fun project. So first of all, you need the embroidery file machine. I'll have a separate tutorial on that. You want to have a 10x6 hoop that is hooped with a heavier stabilizer. I'm using today 806, which is a stitch and tear, but it's heavy duty or medium duty. I would say be cautious if you're using tearaway. I recommend cutaway. So you need basting spray. This is the one that I use. Links to everything that I'm showing you will be in the description box. You need plastic snaps and the tools to set them, whichever you prefer. This one came with my snap set, and as did the awl for piercing the fabric. This is easy to use. We'll go into more on that later. You likely need a USB drive to transfer the digital file from your computer to your embroidery machine, a few clips, a few pins, scissors, and a rotary blade. You're going to need a measuring device, needle and thread, or a sewing machine to close the turning hole at the end. You need embroidery thread, a pre-filled bobbin, and it doesn't matter what color because the bobbin is not going to show on this project. Foam. This is by Annie's foam, which I really like. It's not fusible. That's why we're using the basting spray. Some fabric. It doesn't matter if you use cotton lycra or cotton woven quilt cotton, whatever you like. And then Sherpa or blizzard fleece, something warm and cozy for the backside is recommended. Although you don't have to. You could certainly just go ahead and use another fabric like this. Okay, let's get started. My machine is a filled bobbin, all the way full, and then I've slid my hoop into place. I need to load my design. So I'm using my Baby Lock Flourish too. So I'm going to tell it that it is on the USB. I only have the one file on there, so it's good to go. Hit it and hit set. I don't need to worry about resizing it or moving it or anything like that, so I'm going to say end edit. I do want to trace to make sure that for some reason my machine is not going to have the needle go outside the hoop. That's just kind of a precaution, but let me show you what that looks like. So now we're going to hit OK and then enter embroidery mode. Although it has 3 colors, you don't need to change your colors. The color is just used in order to stop the machine so that we can apply our foam and do all those different steps. So we're going to go ahead and put the foot down. And hit start. We're going to go ahead and spray our foam. Okay, I've pulled the hoop out just a bit, just so it makes it easier to get in here, and I'm putting the sticky side of the foam down using that placement stitch as a guide, just kind of centering it over that. Okay, and now I'm going to take the sticky side of the fabric so that the fabric is facing up, centering any images that I want on the foam. Okay, so I am a lifelong fan of Ewoks, so I want to make sure that the front part of my seatbelt, which is just about 2 inches wide, is going to contain the characters that I most care about or the print that I most care about. If you have scraps of fabric, this is a good time to piece them together. You could use anything that coordinates for the sides. Just put a seam down the center on each side, open it up, and then create your own little panel here. But this is what I'm going to stitch out. So I'm going to push this back into the machine. Being mindful of this, lock it in place, and then foot down. And then I do want to come over here and I want to raise the height of my presser foot. So I'm going to choose, for my machine, I'm going to choose the menu option, go over here, embroidery foot height. I've already raised it to 2.5. That's what I recommend with the foam that I'm using, which is a 1/4 inch deep. So I'm going to say okay, and start. Okay, so it's finished the second stitch and it's added all of the placement circles here for us. The last thing to do is to put the Sherpa down. So we're going to do it right sides together, so the wrong side of the Sherpa facing up. I'm going to tuck it under the foot here. And then I'm going to also pin it in place so that it stays put. Since we're not using any of the basting spray and it is thick, the machine does have a tendency to drag that foot alongside. And so we don't want it to shift while we're stitching out. When I cut the fabric, I cut it so that the stretch side is going this way. It makes it easier to birth that way or to turn right side out. So I would recommend doing that because this direction has no stretch at all. Okay, what's going to happen is it's going to stitch just a really quick rectangle all the way around with a gap right here for turning. This is where it didn't stitch, and this is our opening. We want to leave this tab because it will help us sew that up at the end. And this part does not have to be perfect. Okay, let's turn it right side out. I do find that with this thicker material, it helps a bit to scrunch it first and to kind of crumple, break down the structure of that interfacing or stabilizer. And pick a far corner, use your fingers, and just kind of coax it out. Because we use the Sherpa with that stretch there at the corners or at the sides, it makes it easier to turn. Okay. Then we're going to come in with our fingers in each of the corners and make sure that we press it out nicely. You don't have to go crazy. You don't have to use a special tool. Just use your fingers. The Sherpa has stretch, and so it really helps you turn that out well. If you pop some of your stitches at that turning hole, don't worry, we're going to close that up in just a second. Don't go too crazy, but don't worry. there's a way to fix it. Okay, so now we're just going to use our hands to flatten this down. If you wanted to, you could press this, but I really don't think it needs to be. I think it looks fine. Okay, and then now we're ready to close the turning hole. So we're going to tuck the material in here, and I already did that when we turned it right side out. Leaving that tab helps a lot. And then you can either stitch this closed with a needle and thread, or you can do it on a sewing machine. I'm going to go ahead and do it really quick with a needle and thread, but that's just my preference for today. Okay, so I finished stitching it closed, and as promised, you cannot even see it because the Sherpa hides everything. I purposely used a contrasting colored thread today so that you could see that it disappears within there. Now we need to go ahead and trim off any of these threads that are hanging from the stitch out, and then we're ready to install our snaps. Okay, so in the instructions I tell you to separate your sockets from your studs, and I just messed up. I just almost messed up. So it's really critical that you pay attention to the instructions and that you follow them exactly. So this is the awl, and this is the first hole, guide hole. So we're going to set this in the center of the hole, and we're going to kind of move it around a little bit to enlarge the hole, and I'm putting my fingernails on either side of that awl, pinching as I pull out. This is going to help me keep track of where this goes on the reverse side. Because of the Sherpa being so high in pile, it's easy to lose track of it. So there it is coming through the back. You really have to almost feel this more than you do see it. So now I've pinched the socket onto there. I'm going to set the tool so that the cap is in the bottom and the plunger is at the top. And there we've set it. We're going to do the exact same thing all the way down this side so that we have all 4 snaps installed. On this side, we're going to do the reverse. We're still using the center marking here, putting the awl through, enlarging the hole, pinching our fingernails, our index finger and our thumbnail on either side of the awl, removing. This time we're coming from the back. If you don't install the snaps correctly, it may be that it doesn't snap together at the end, or that it isn't reversible, or both. Okay. I'm going to now put the socket over the top. The cap goes in the bottom, the socket goes in the top, press to squeeze. We've added all of our snaps consistent with the pattern directions. So on the right side, you'll see 4 caps lined up, and on the left side, you'll see 4 sockets lined up. If we turn it over, again, we see the 4 caps on the right side and the 4 studs on the left side. This is what makes it reversible and what makes the pattern kind of wrap around and snap around the seatbelt. So this is a mock seatbelt. Yours in your automobile will be a little bit wider than this, but essentially this is what we're going to do. We're going to fold back this half, and then we're going to fold under this half, and then we're going to snap it in place behind. Sorry for wiggling you. I will say that the Sherpa can kind of get in the way a little bit, so you just have to push it aside. Sorry, it's hard to do this without moving the camera, and snap it into place. Okay, so this is what it will look like when it's on. So this is why when you're choosing a pattern, you want to make sure that you're choosing something that is going to fit in this area here. I wanted to get this little furry forest fella and this guy here. So this is why I chose the placement of my pattern piece. On the reverse, this is what it looks like. If we want to turn it over and have the fuzzy side facing out, we would do the exact same thing. So let me get that going and I'll show you what it looks like that way. All right, I look forward to seeing you soon, friends, and I hope that you will find me in the group so that we can interact more closely together. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.